Bona tarda a tothom. Anem a començar aquestes jornades. Jo en soc Tica Font, la presidenta d'aquí del Centre de l'ATX, els que hem acollit a tots els membres de la IRG i a part de donar-vos la benvinguda i desitjar-vos un bon treball, d'alguna manera el que us volia també manifestar és donar-vos les felicitats perquè una organització que sobreviu més de 100 anys és que ha encertat molt bé les temàtiques de treball, perquè el que és usual és que les entitats neixen, visquin uns anys i morin perquè el treball o la causa que estan fent decau. Lo suficientment atemporal és la feina que esteu fent perquè en el temps perdura. En tot cas, jo crec que el que us auguro és que us donarà més treball els temps que venen, com a mínim a la gent en Europa. Ahir mateix el president Macron ja ha anunciat la milia voluntaris a tots els joves del país de 18 i 19 anys, amb la voluntat d'arribar a 50.000 reservistes en pocs anys. En Europa està tornant a créixer la mili, en molts països d'Europa, o bé obligatòria o bé voluntària. Els països de la Unió Europea no només se preparen en armes, estan preparant i estan aculturitzant a joves perquè tornin o siguin patriotes que estan disposats a morir per la pàtria, per la riquesa d'algú altre que no és la nostra. I jo crec que això ens donarà a que hem d'estar molt alerta, però també molt proper a tots els joves que no vulguin, per una part, sumar-s'hi a matar en nom de no se sap què, ni de qui, ni de quins valors, també ajudar aquells que vulguin desertar de la guerra, que són soldats que volen deixar l'exèrcit. Jo crec que torna a ser el moment de que comenceu a preparar documents dedicats a joves, a que pugueu armar-los de valor, raonaments, actituds i campanyes per rebutjar el fet de que ells no seran els que morin en nom de o a favor de no se sap què o qui. Molt bona feina, que marqueu bones estratègies, us venen temps de molta feina, però jo diria que si heu resistit més de 100 anys és que el camí segueix sent el bo, el que heu marcat. Per tant, que continueu, no us desvieu dels principis fundacionals perquè podreu seguir treballant i que sou una organització necessària arreu del món. Com a mínim hi ha molt de jove que us necessitarà i és necessari que sàpiguen com contactar amb vosaltres, com demanar-vos ajuda, com participar d'una xarxa com la vostra. Molt bona feina en aquells dies i ara seguirem treballant amb vosaltres.
Muy bien, pues vamos a cocinar esperanza. Gracias, Tica. Vamos a ver. Una persona decente. De decent person. Pues para cocinar esperanza, dice Raya Asiada, voy a leer para facilitar la traducción. No tenemos el privilegio de perder la esperanza. Comenzamos agradeciendo a quienes se han desplazado desde lugares muy diferentes del planeta y a quienes se quedaron haciendo nuestras tareas productivas y reproductivas. A quienes han organizado, planificado, preparado la logística y el cuidado de todos los detalles, especialmente del equipo del Centre de l'ATX y el equipo de la IRG. A quienes nos facilitan la traducción e interpretación, tanto acá como en el otro espacio, a quienes nos acogen en sus casas y al equipo del albergue, las cocineras, las limpiadoras, las que nos esperan y nos guardan los platos. Muchas gracias a Cataluña, un lugar de refugio a sus gentes por su mirada redonda de mundo que tanto nos enseñan, Ética, la Pera, y su compromiso internacionalista, porque siempre están enredadas en muchas organizaciones con mirada redonda, a todas por su contribución a la paz, al antimilitarismo y la no violencia. El menú que nos ofrece este sistema es el de en el que vivimos, es el de una seguridad rota, con más de 49 estados en guerra. ¿Voy bien de velocidad para la traducción? ¿Sí? ¿La señalita? ¿Yes? ¿Sí? Muy bien, me estaban escuchando entonces. De esos 49 estados en guerra, 21 de ellos están en nuestro continente africano, 2 genocidios, uno en Palestina, en Sudán, más genocos, esos genocidios perpetrados por ganancias económicas, como el del Congo, más gasto militar mundial, más perturbación ecológica, colapso e injusticia climática, más carrera armamentística, nuclear, más centenares de miles de víctimas de las guerras, mientras más negocio, más beneficio para esta industria de la guerra, este negocio de las guerras y el enriquecimiento del norte global en su proveer armas a los conflictos armados. Y es que no hay paz para la vida en este sistema que es capitalista, que es heteropatriarcal, que es colonial, que es racista, ecocida, biocida. Sistemas mantenidos por la militarización, los ejércitos, las guerras. Como dice Yayo Herrero, la guerra contra la vida es permanente. Se prepara todos los días y parte de este paradigma de seguridad militar que defiende patrias, fronteras y a los más ricos, desde estructuras de dominación y de violencia que potencian la acumulación por desposesión, la explotación, el extractivismo, las desigualdades, las discriminaciones, la mercantilización, el desprecio por la vida. Así como decimos en los feminismos, como no hay paz para la vida en este sistema, no queremos un trozo de tarta, queremos un cambio de receta. Por eso estamos cocinando la esperanza. Decía Audre Lorde, una feminista negra, lesbiana, de lo que más me arrepiento es de mis silencios. Y nosotras no queremos ser cómplices con nuestro silencio a que esta barbarie siga haciéndose con nuestras complicidades, con nuestros recursos, con nuestras indiferencias. Lo hacemos desde nuestro manifiesto de la Internacional de Resistentes a la Guerra. Este manifiesto paraguas. La guerra es un crimen contra la humanidad y el resto de la naturaleza. Por ello, nos comprometemos a no apoyar ninguna guerra y a luchar por la eliminación de sus causas. Desde esta declaración, la Internacional de Resistentes a las Guerras, en nuestro paraguas común, somos una red mundial de organizaciones pacifistas, antimilitaristas y no violentas, muy plurales, muy diversas, y todas hacemos falta. Más de 90 grupos afiliados en más de 43 territorios en los 5 continentes. Nacimos, como decía Tika, en 1921, ya tenemos 104 años y no se nota casi nada. 104 años de resistencia a las guerras y a sus raíces. Este encuentro lo queremos conjugar, esta mesa, esta cocina de estos 2 días, lo queremos conjugar en 3 tiempos. Con el pasado, para hacer memoria, para reconocer y agradecer todo el trabajo por la paz, el antimilitarismo y la no violencia, sobre el que hoy seguimos recogiendo el testigo de nuestras ancestras, de nuestras anteriores. Muchas gracias a todas. También queremos conjugar el presente, renovando y actualizando análisis y nuestra acción para profundizar en la transformación y en la emancipación que buscamos. compartiendo voces y visibilizando realidades ocultadas. Y conjugando un futuro para inspirarnos en la búsqueda colectiva y comunitaria, para que haya futuro, a veces solo para eso, para que haya futuro, pero para todos, para todas, para todes, y una buena vida otra. Buscamos con estos encuentros, con esta cocina de esperanza, disfrutar de un espacio donde salgamos de la oscuridad fatalista, hegemónica de no hay nada que hacer, y que pongamos el foco en hacer visible y acompañarnos las potencias. Como dicen los políticos, ya estoy acabando. Las políticas transformadoras para seguir cultivando en poderes comunitarios y decrecer en poder violento, en poder militar. Queremos en este encuentro inspirarnos mutuamente, veamos lo que nos une, veamos lo que nos da oxígeno, lo que son respiraderos, para sentirnos parte de un aliento colectivo que ni empieza ni acaba aquí, donde nos reconozcamos en la asistencia de la resistencia, donde nos saque de competiciones, de sectarismo, de aislamientos, de absolutismo, de miedos, como dicen las compañeras colombianas, a la juntanza, donde busquemos tejer y acuerpar desde las urdimbres comunes como la estrategia sociopolítica de la no violencia, desde la que nos sostenemos, donde renovemos brújulas desde las coordenadas de la seguridad humana, la abolición de los ejércitos, el desarrollo de una defensa popular no violenta con protesta a lo que decimos que no y con propuestas a lo que decimos que sí y cultivamos. Donde combinemos la resistencia activa con el diálogo, la no cooperación, con el trabajo constructivo, creando alternativas, aportando elementos de reconciliación, reforzando el tejido social, asociativo, con la no violencia que afirma toda vida, que se pronuncia contra las opresiones y reconoce el valor de todas las personas y del resto de la naturaleza. Donde nos nutramos de diversidades, reconociendo que todas hacemos falta y que la pluralidad es un bien y es lo que nos hace respetar la singularidad. Donde sintamos la invitación a estrechar lazos e interconexiones con todos los movimientos de transformación emancipatoria, invitándonos a seguir desaprendiendo la guerra, en crecer en puentes, en abolir fronteras, a defender a quienes nos defienden, quienes desertan, quienes rechazan el derecho a matar. Donde nos impulsemos a la desobediencia civil, a perturbar este orden injusto y nos animemos unas a otras con alegría para seguir ensanchando bases y agrietando muros. Y es que, como decía García Lorca, poeta asesinado en la guerra civil, como tanta gente que siguen en las cunetas, no hay nada tan hermoso como lo imposible. Buscamos juntas un cambio de paradigma, juntas cocinando este cambio de paradigma también, donde seguridad y defensa no sean definidos por lo militar, donde crezcamos en seguridad humana y del resto de la naturaleza, donde busquemos la defensa social que defiende derechos y libertades, sostenibilidad, desmilitarizando, desarmando, despatriarcalizando, decolonizando desde la cooperación, la autogestión, el bien común, con un trabajo horizontal, abandonando la violencia y abrazando la ternura como elemento constitutivo de hacer política. Como nos dijo Gloria Fuertes, la poeta nacida en Madrid, nos basta una mano para matar, necesitamos dos para acariciar, para aplaudir y todas las manos del mundo para conseguir la paz. Una de las mujeres de la Internacional de Resistentes a la Guerra del Estado español en los tiempos de la Guerra Civil, Amparo Poch, médica anarquista, gritaba: es tiempo de no prestar oídos a los himnos nacionales ni a las palabras retumbantes que nos hablan de falsos deberes patrióticos. Pasemos con energía a defender la paz y la dulzura. Todas a la cocina de la esperanza, todas a compartir mesa para no perder la esperanza. Como decía nuestro amigo de acá, Arcadi Oliveres, en palabras, ¿no?, que él hablaba tanto de la esperanza, en palabras de la poeta Begoña Abad: la mejor revolución, no darme por vencida, no entrar en sus cantos de sirena, no permitirme la amargura, no dejar un espacio para el odio, no olvidar la mirada de niña, no dar por perdida la esperanza. Disfrutemos juntas del compartir a la mesa para que haya alimento para todas.
Muchas gracias, Coldo. Buenas noches a todas y todos. Yo soy Natalia García, yo hago parte de la Internacional de Resistentes a la Guerra. El día de hoy voy a estar moderando este panel y algunas cosas. Bueno, primero quisiera invitarles, ya con la mesa servida, a que miremos quién está sentado al lado de nosotras. Y reconozcamos que una manera de reimaginar el mundo es cuando sabemos quién está con nosotros al lado y quién camina junto a nosotras. Bueno, hay algunas cosas de dinámica. Cada persona tiene un tiempo destinado para sus presentaciones. Yo al final les estaré mostrando cuánto tiempo les queda para que lo tengan en cuenta. Entonces necesito que me miren de repente. Primero vamos a empezar con Zaira y con Artem, luego va a seguir Jungmin, de terceras va a estar Julián de terceras va a estar Sergeiy y de cuartas va a estar Julián. ¿Listo? Muchas gracias a todas por venir, por estar aquí. Estamos muy felices desde la oficina, desde el Comité Ejecutivo de la Internacional de Resistentes a la Guerra. Y no siendo más, pues voy a presentar a los primeros ponentes. Todo el mundo va a dar sus presentaciones y al final abriremos un espacio para preguntas y respuestas. Listo. Entonces, nuestros primeros ponentes son Zaira Zafarana. Zaira es una italiana experta en defensa de los derechos humanos, el sistema de las Naciones Unidas, la paz y la no violencia. Actualmente trabaja para Connection EV como coordinadora de incidencia internacional, centrándose especialmente en el derecho a la objeción de conciencia al servicio militar en todo el mundo, dentro del sistema de las Naciones Unidas y en las instituciones europeas. También colabora con la Internacional de Resistentes a la Guerra, representando a la organización ante la ONU en Ginebra, y colabora con la Oficina Europea de Objeción de Conciencia, para la que también contribuye regularmente a un informe anual sobre objeción de conciencia. Y tenemos a Artem, quien es un objetor de conciencia y abogado que trabaja para Connection EV en Alemania. Defiende los derechos de las personas perseguidas. Con profundos conocimientos y compromiso, brinda apoyo legal crucial a objetores de conciencia de Rusia, Bielorrusia, Ucrania, Georgia, Armenia, Uzbekistán y Azerbaiyán. Desde 2022 se ha centrado especialmente en ayudar a quienes buscan asilo debido a la movilización forzada y la guerra. Artem ha colaborado con organizaciones no gubernamentales en países europeos, ofreciendo asesoramiento legal y apoyo durante todo el proceso de visado y asilo. Su trabajo lo ha convertido en un destacado defensor de la objeción de conciencia en Europa. Entonces, quisiera darle la bienvenida a Artem y a Zaira y un aplauso también para ellos. Gracias.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I think Zayu, you can start. because we prepared some presentation about our work, about the work of Connection e.V., German-based organization that is helping conscientious objectors internationally.
Yes.
So yeah,
Let's wait for that.
and it
Okay.
works. Yeah, Zaira, please.
Okay, gracias a todos. I will speak in English or Italian, as you prefer. But we will do this presentation together, so we will share the time. We will not split in half. And actually, this is also the way Connection works. It's a collective work, joint work. And Connection was founded in 1993. And as Artem anticipated, its main focus is to support conscientious objectors to military service everywhere around the world. It's based in Germany, but from Germany it sends and reach out to conscientious objectors everywhere. At least it tries to do so. And here in the room we have the president, Franz, of Conscientious Objection, so of Connection, so thanks to Franz to be here. But we would like just to present, it's not big, although there are so many people collaborating in Connection. So first of all, a special greetings to all of you from the staff. This picture was taken in Barcelona, so thank you to Barcelona for hosting us. And one thing that we would like to share with you, as we have been asked to present a little bit what we do to resist militarism and which kind of action we do implement, we would like to mention one person that is the core of Connection, and together with some other local activists has started this journey, and we are keep up this journey. So this picture, we will not use slides with text, only pictures, okay? And thank you to the interpreters. We hope that this will facilitate. So these are pictures that show a little bit of activity, of Connection, but most importantly for us now, as we are presenting the organization, it also talks a lot about one very important person who is our director, who accidentally passed away in July. And he would have been here with all of you, and I'm sure that many of you know him, and he knows you. And so, as you can see, we do not participate only in meetings like this, but we do, because it's very important to inform. And the first way to resist to something is to know what should we resist to. So we talk about militarism and how the militarism is affecting the society. And our focus are individuals who are refusing to learn, to fight, and who are refusing to kill in wartime. So the focus is really conscientious objectors everywhere. As you can see, one picture, Rudy was participating and presenting the work of the organization at the European Bureau for Conscientious Objectors. This means that as Connection, we do gather with activists, local activists, also in different regions of the world. The European Bureau, it's for the European region, but we do run together also with WRI working groups on different other continents, like Asia, for instance. And this means that to resist militarism, we need to let people talk and present and explain what the local situation is. We do a lot of international work, and I'm going to share a little bit more in a second. So here you can see, for example, the first picture is Rudy and myself in front of the European Parliament. As it was mentioned, we do work directly with conscientious objectors and activists because we think that it's very important and strategic to do grassroots work. At the same time, this needs to be combined with international solidarity and international advocacy. And one way we do this is through European institutions. You can see also here some other pictures that, let's say, we like to share also because it also represents some recognition that Connection received because of these efforts. I'm not talking about myself because I'm joined the organization 1 year ago, approximately. But as it was said at the beginning of our evening, I think it's very important to express gratitude for those who came before us and build this strong tool that we can use for conscientious objectors. And then you can see another picture of Artem with Rudy, so he can tell you a little bit more about the counseling service that we do at Connection.
Yes, Connection is not only an activist organization, it's also about expert way of helping people who apply for asylum, not only in Germany but in European countries, mostly in European countries, because mostly we work with European countries, but also, for example, with the United States. Usually it's a very complicated process, and especially 3 years later, after the start of the war between Russia and Ukraine, a lot of European states do not have any common policy about it, and we see that in the United States now there are a presidential case is about to close a way for objectors, especially from Russia, to apply for asylum. We see the decisions of German migrational institution BAMF that is also about to close all possibilities for Russian objectors. We are now looking at the same situation in Eastern European countries. So one of the main our activities is to help here, is to write expert letter of recommendations, expert opinions, amicus curiae for courts, to collect all materials about risks for objectors, not only from Russia but also in Ukraine there are objectors and they have another risks. In Belarus there are also objectors with their own risks, and in other countries if we have cases for asylum. Of course it's important, of course it's impossible to help everyone. We are now have more requests more requests today that people are working in our team, and it's impossible to answer everyone very fast and to work in each case precisely. But we are trying our best. For example, about some results last week. We got the first positive decision in Finland for a guy who applied for asylum because he was scared of Russian mobilization. In 2022, he moved to Finland, and we know the very, very strong situation in Finland. It's very, very difficult to receive any asylum, positive decision. So we helped one guy without any expectations, and finally he received a positive decision. Not so much, but something. And we're still working with deserters from Russia who left the front line, and now mostly they are in Armenia because it's the easiest way to enter this country with a Russian pass. And only with France we have some positive results, because only France are now, I think, understanding correctly all risks for deserters and are ready to give them special travel documents so they have a possibility to travel from Armenia to France and to apply for asylum. I thought it would be faster to make this system with Germany, but I was wrong. Unfortunately, in Germany we didn't reach these results, but thanks France, so we can continue our work, we can continue to deserters. You can say that it's not so much. Wow, it's only 6 deserters from France for 2024. Now we're waiting for 9 more cases. But it's something, some numbers, we do not have the same, for example, in Germany. So like a brief explanation of our expert work. Thanks, Zaira.
We said that we do participate in events like this to present the work, to present the topic, and also to exchange with experts from other countries. But it is also very important to go out on the streets, on the square, really to connect with people who might be not familiar with this topic, we do experience, especially thanks to our colleagues, for example, from the Republic of Korea, that a lot of conscience objectors are victim of a stigma, a social stigma, so it's really important to go out. And these are some pictures from public events that we did run this past year. You can recognize some of you in the pictures. And this is because this is not a solo work. We did talk a lot today in these internal meetings about community and international solidarity as an effort to create a community. This is what we are trying to do. So we need to interconnect. And now I will just a little bit give you some more ideas of activities that we do at the UN. So here again, you can recognize some of you. There is a picture, for example, with some Turkish activists. There is especially one conscience objector, but you may recognize also Merve and Julia. So what we do counsel with them, we do support them, but also we give them the opportunity to come to the international institutions and to speak for themselves so that their first-hand experience can be heard directly. And we did this, for example, with them. We do this with so many activists. Here you see the pictures with activists from Turkey and also with activists from Israel and from Ukraine. We did the same things. I don't want to go into the technical details, but the UN is not just a big building over there. It is also a tool that could and should be used more by civil society, because there are so many channels for civil society to advocate for human rights. And individual cases, country cases can be flagged there, and this make a difference. It does. And we are here really to witness this, and we are willing to help with all of you. So you see what we do is also deliver an oral statement in the plenary of the United Nations, and also to run side events. And I would like to conclude. We also run some international campaign together with other partners. One is the Object War campaign. Already Artem explained how important it was to create something to support conscience objectors from Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia at the breaking of the occupation war. And this is one campaign to ask European countries to get protection for these people. Then we have another, and we have flyers outside, so please take one so that it's lighter the luggage. And then we do have another international action that we do to resist militarism, which is also to give opportunity to everyone to express their own thought. I do object and I do support. And this is a online platform to really support, give voice to you as well. So there is a QR code you could see, and we will conclude with Artem.
Yes, and apart from the UN work, apart the international work, apart the expert work, we're also doing some advocacy on a national level, and we are working with journalists. For example, here are some pictures of our filmmaking with deserters, from Russian deserters. It's on the right, who it was made in Armenia for the German TV. So it's also, we are trying to use everything as a possibilities to speak about this topic, among the hundreds of thousands of people, because this film was, it's published on YouTube, was a lot of views, more than 300,000 views, and it was published on the German channel, ZDF. We're also doing some public lectures, some public events, not only explaining our job, but when we are talking about some results and negative results. So it's not only about positives, you know. So there are a lot of a lot of negatives or something that we didn't reach. So it's also very, very important to highlight and to try maybe to push another strategies. Like as I said, in Germany we didn't reach something like system or something like individual cases, individual possibilities for cases of objectors or deserters, and now situation is very bad. But in France, now it's better. So yeah, it's also a part of our job. Thank you very much. You can, it's our website. You can scan QR code, visit our website, support us, and if you have someone who is in a very, very difficult situation, so please give him this contact, so we will try our best.
So supporting us means to support you.
Muchas gracias, Zaira y Artem. Me parece un gran inicio para esta conversación sobre a qué le estamos diciendo que no como antimilitaristas y cómo lo hacemos. También aprovecho esta oportunidad pues, para mencionar a Rudy y mencionar el trabajo tan importante que él hizo en Connection EV y en colaboración con la IRG. Es una noticia muy triste para nosotras, pero también hoy quisiera como que celebráramos mucho su vida y lo que él hizo, y pues para eso quisiera pedir igual un aplauso, si está bien, por él. Gracias. Listo. Quien sigue ahorita es Jungmin Choi. Ella es una activista de World Without War, una organización antimilitarista surcoreana con sede en Seúl, que apoya a objetores de conciencia y emprende acciones contra el tráfico de armas.
Hola, buenas noches. Hello, everyone. My name is Jungmin. I'm an activist from World Without War in South Korea. I'm very happy to be here tonight in Barcelona with all of you. It's a bit dark, but I'm not the best the person who chose the picture, but bear with me. Today I want to talk about what happened in Korea about almost a year ago, a night that left a deep mark on us, Koreans. Since today's theme is about how to resist militarism, I will use that experience as a way to explore this subject. It did not transform everything overnight, but it reminds us of the path we had been walking for many years, often without realizing it. That night highlighted both the challenges we face and the strengths we have built together. I want to share what we learned about our work through that experience. Let me talk back to December 3rd, 2024, around 10:30 p.m. exactly. I was at home getting ready for bed. Suddenly my phone started buzzing, emergency alerts, news notifications, messages from everyone. The president had just declared martial law on live television, like this. His speech was scary because we had heard this language before. He said we were in danger from pro-North Korean forces and anti-state forces. He said these groups had turned our National Assembly into a den of criminals. For those of us who have worked against militarism for decades, this language was both terrifying and predictable. This is the oldest trick in the Korean military playbook, using the specter of North Korea as an excuse for internal repression. So every dictatorship we've had, every episode of political violence has been justifying this way. The military was ordered to close down the parliament, arrest opposition leaders, journalists, trade union leaders, and take control of all media. Troops were sent out. The ghost of our military dictatorship, which was supposed to have ended in 1987, when we won democratic elections, was suddenly back. On December 3rd, 2024, we realized it could come back at any moment. But within minutes, social media exploded. Come to the National Assembly now. No central organization gave this order. No one had prepared buses or meeting points. People just saw the news and started moving. They grabbed their phones, put their coats on, and ran out into the cold December night. Within 2 hours, thousands had already reached the National Assembly. Thousands more were coming from every direction. Young people who had never protested before, middle-aged parents with their teenage children, elderly citizens who remembered what dictatorship felt like and refused to let it return. Oh, I don't know why these pictures are so small, but yeah. They filled the street around the Parliament building. 16,000 people by some counts. They blocked the armed vehicles and armed soldiers and helped members of parliament and staffs to climb over the wall. It looked like the whole city was there. Yeah. Meanwhile, parliament members got urgent calls. Soldiers are coming, get to the chamber now. Assembly workers also blocked the doors of the chamber with desks, chairs, sofas, anything they could move. The troops that came were not regular soldiers. These were elite Korea soldiers, special forces trained for the most dangerous missions. In Korean history, these units have a dark reputation. They were the ones sent to Gwangju in 1980. They were used to crush protests during the dictatorship years. In the past, just seeing those units would have made people too scared to resist. They represented the power and violence of the state. But that night, something had changed. Those special forces soldiers stood at the edge of the crowd. They faced a war of 16,000 citizens who would not back down. They faced thousands of smartphone cameras streaming their every moves to the whole world in the real time. Even these highly trained soldiers were stuck. How do you follow illegal orders when the whole society is watching? How do you shoot into a crowd when your own family might be watching the live stream? At 1 a.m., just 2.5 hours after martial law was declared, enough parliament members had made it inside. They held an emergency vote. It was unanimous, 119-0, to cancel the martial law. But we didn't trust the president to obey, so we stayed. All 16,000 of us stayed through the freezing night. We surrounded the building. We made sure the soldiers couldn't move in. We chanted. We sang. We called our friends and family to tell them what was happening. We asked them to spread the word, to come if they could. We turned that parliament building into an island of democracy that the military couldn't break. By 4:30 a.m., the president said he was canceling martial law. By 5 a.m., the soldiers started leaving. 6 hours, that's all it took. From declaration to defeat, 6 hours. Yeah. Today, almost a year later, the president is in prison waiting for trial. His defense minister, his interior minister, the police chief, the commanders who sent those troops, they are all in prison facing justice. Why did it happen so fast? Why did we win? Maybe people in Korea and around the world have called it a miracle. But I want to say something about the word. Miracles are things that just happen to us from outside. What happened on December 3rd was not a miracle. It was the result of years of work, memory, and resistance. The clearest example is the memory of Gwangju. Oops, wrong one. Yeah, that one. The Gwangju, this is the people who helped the parliament members to climb the wall. Yeah. The Gwangju democratization movement was a struggle for democracy against the military junta's expansion of martial law following its seizure of power through a military coup in 1980. It resulted in hundreds of deaths and thousands of injuries, forming a crucial historical foundation that led to institutional democracy in 1987 in Korea and played a pivotal role in the development of Korean democracy. When South Koreans saw martial law declared, we didn't have to imagine what might happen next. We knew. We have taught about the Gwangju massacre in our schools. We remember it in our streets every May. We have made it part of our shared memory. The families of the victim have never stopped asking for justice. They have never stopped remembering us what military violence looked like when it attacked civilians. That memory shaped everything about December 3rd. It shaped why people went toward the National Assembly instead of staying at home in fear. It shaped why the soldiers hesitated. Every soldier there knew what happened in Gwangju. They knew they could be remembered as murderers, as the shameful face of dictatorship. Historical memory is like a kind of road or bridge. You can't see it like you see a building, but it carried us. It held us up. On December 3rd, that memory was tested and it held. That history, the memory, has been kept alive through the activities of South Korean anti-militarist groups, such as World Without War. We have linked this memory to concrete struggle and campaigns, challenging the conscription system, raising human rights issues within the military, monitoring arms trade, and questioning what constitutes genuine security. At the time, these campaigns often felt small, unimportant, almost useless. We would protest only 10 people. We would write reports that only a few specialists read. We would support conscientious objectors who spent years in prison with no one celebrating them. But looking back now, after December 3rd, I see those campaigns differently. They were not separate, small things. They were building something. You can call it anti-militarist work. You can call it the muscles of resistance, call it whatever you like. The point is we were preparing even when we didn't know what we were preparing for. I shall explain a little about the conscientious objection campaign in South Korea. We started this movement back in 2000 when refusing military service was almost impossible to imagine. You need to understand what military service means in South Korea. We have mandatory conscription. Every young man must serve about 2 years in the military. There are no exceptions unless you have a severe disabilities. This system exists because we are still technically at war with North Korea. The military draft is seen as absolute necessary for national survival. Refusal to serve has been treated as one of the worst crimes, worse than robbery, worse than assault. It meant you were a traitor. We supported the men who refused anyway, mostly Jehovah's Witnesses, but also Buddhist, Catholics, and secular pacifists. Each year, around 600 young men went to prison because of their conscience. They served 18 months in prison, longer than the average sentence for violent crimes in South Korea. We visited them, we wrote them their stories, we took these stories to the United Nations, to human rights organizations, to anyone who would listen. For years, it felt like we were hitting a war that wouldn't move. Slowly, things began to change. In 2018, after years of our work, the Constitutional Court finally said there must be an alternative to military service. In 2020, alternative service finally started. It's not perfect. It's still 36 months of hard civilian work, twice longer than military service. But consequently, among Jehovah's Witnesses, those practicing total refusal have begun to emerge, and political objectors are also preparing for their total refusal. Once again, refusal to performing military service is set to become a hot potato in Korean society again. Something else changed too, something harder to measure, but maybe more important. The very existence of conscientious objectors planted a seed of doubt in Korean society about military authority. If these young men could refuse, if they could say no to the generals and survive, then maybe the military's power wasn't absolute. Maybe orders could be questioned. Maybe obedience wasn't the only important thing. This seed grew in an unexpected place. In 2023, a high-ranking Marine Corps colonel named Park Jong-hoon refused to follow illegal orders. His superiors told him to cover up the death of a young Marine who drowned during a failed rescue operation. Colonel Park was a career officer. He had given his whole adult life to the military, but when his superior told him to hide the truth to protect themselves politically, he refused. He went public. He said, following an illegal order is not loyalty. It is a betrayal of true military duty. Of course, before Colonel Park, there had been other who challenged the military authority. In 2008, conscripted soldier Lee Gil-jun was there, and in 2003, there was a Kang Chol-min who said that the conscientious objection. He declared the conscientious objection. So we had helped break the spell of blind obedience. Let me be clear, I'm not saying our conscientious objection work caused December 3rd to end the way it did, but would be wrong and arrogant. But I am saying that our work was part of what made the outcome possible. We helped weaken the culture that dictatorships need to survive, the culture of not questioning orders. I have just 2 minutes, but let me talk more about the campaign, which is the resistance against arms trade, a little bit. Weapons makers from around the world come to show off their largest tools for killing, fighter jets, tanks, missiles, surveillance, drones. It's like a shopping mall for war. We have protested these fairs for years. We shame them, block them, disturb them. We try to break the polite lie that this is just a normal business or national defense. We say, look, this is a market. Death is being sold here. Militarism is not the sacred duty. This is a business for making money. So this work has been tiring, often discouraging. The arms dealers just laughed at us. The media rarely reported on it, and the police bother us. And year after year, the fair gets bigger. But our constant work to show the truth about the military had been effect by showing that the military is just another business, one with powerful lobbyists, profitable contracts, and political corruption. We took away its secret protector image. We helped the people see the military not as a noble institution of politics, but as a deeply political actor with economic interests. So on December 3rd, when the president declared martial law and said it was necessary to protect the nation from a North Korean threat, people didn't believe it. They had learned to be skeptical. They could see the political greed hiding behind the uniform. They knew that militarism in Korea is as much about the profit and power as it is about defense. And here is the bitter irony. After the coup failed, after the president was impeached and arrested, the new government doubled down on weapons export. They see it as a way to help the economy to restore national pride after the shame of the coup attempt. Anyway, I want to leave you with this image. These are the young women at the protest demanding the president removal. They are holding K-pop light sticks, the kind of wave at concert. But this night, they brought them to defense democracy. You see, the 6 hours of December 3rd were just the beginning. When the sun rose on December 4th, people immediately went back to the street, demanding the president's resignation and arrest. For 4 months until April 1st, when he finally impeached, civil society organizations led sustained protest every week, hundreds of thousands of people, week after week. They brought not just anger, but joy, not just protest, but culture. They made it festival of resistance. This is what I meant by training the muscle of resistance. The 6 hours of December 3rd showed us our capacity for rapid response. The 4 months that followed showed our capacity for sustained, organized struggle. Both were possible because we had been trained these muscles for many years. When we protest arms fairs with only 10 people, when one person goes to jail for refusing military service, it is easy to feel alone. The force we face seems so huge and impossible to move, but December 3rd taught me this. No action is wasted. Every protest, every report, every refusal, these are exercises. We are training the muscles of resistance. You cannot build that strength overnight. That struggle has to be built slowly through thousands of small acts over years and decades. Yeah, thank you for hearing me. Thank you.
Gracias, Jungmin, por tu presentación. No pasa nada que te hayas pasado de algunos minutos, siempre está muy bien escucharte. Y ahora seguimos entonces con Sergeiy. Wait a second. Sergeiy es objetor de conciencia y activista de mucho tiempo de la Internacional de Resistentes a la Guerra y del movimiento feminista antimilitarista New Profile. Cumplió 2 meses en una prisión militar por negarse a unirse a las Fuerzas Armadas israelíes. Su activismo está vinculado al movimiento New Profile, que busca desmilitarizar la sociedad israelí. Entonces, puedes iniciar.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so as Natalia said, I'm Sergeiy. I come to you from the belly of the beast, so to say, from Israel, where I'm part of the anti-militarist and feminist movement New Profile. New Profile has existed since the late 1990s, and one of the main things we've been doing is helping any person who, for whatever reason, wishes to avoid or discontinue their military service. I've been personally and actively involved in this work more or less from the outset. We also have the project coordinator for it or here in the audience. Now, these days, when Israel is conducting an all-out genocide in Gaza, an accelerated ethnic cleansing in the West Bank, incursions into Lebanon and Syria, and bombings in more countries than I can remember, this work we're doing has become especially significant and especially effective. In September, the head of the Israeli military's manpower division announced that the military is 12,000 soldiers short of what they think they need to accomplish all of their bloody tasks. Well, I made a little back-of-the-envelope calculation and figured out that over the years, New Profile helped about 30,000 people who would have otherwise still been in the military, either as conscripts or as reservists, to leave the ranks. What this means is that our work goes beyond the significant task of helping individuals or of making a statement. We're exerting real pressure on the Zionist regime. The BDS campaign pressures Israel by limiting its access to economic resources. Our work puts limits on Israel's access to another crucial resource, and one that is in particularly short supply, military personnel. What makes this kind of impact possible is our broader and, I think, deeper understanding of conscientious objection. We understand every decision not to serve in the military to be a political decision. That's especially true in Israel, where the entire culture and the entire education system, from kindergarten on, very much included in the kindergarten itself, views producing soldiers to be its most important goal. Only a small minority of the people who contact us for help express open rejection of Zionism or a well-articulated moral stance against war. Instead, many reach out to us because they need to help provide for their family, which lives in poverty, but isn't the choice to put the needs of your family before the demands of the army a political choice? And isn't poverty itself a political issue? Others ask for our help because they suffer from mental health issues. Well, mental health is a political issue too. And a psychological reaction which rejects what the military does and what the military is can be no less potent and no less political than a public statement. Each decision to avoid military service is a personal decision, but as the old feminist slogan goes, the personal is the political. Because we realize the political weight and significance of the choice not to serve in the military, we are able to reach people from literally every walk of life in Israel. And as I said earlier, the sheer number of people we reach makes a major difference. Indeed, there's this myth that in Israel everybody serves in the military. Technically, that's what the law says. Universal conscription for all citizens, actually even for non-citizens, men and women. In practice, as in any colonial society, there's actually a lot of internal differentiation. Several major groups, most importantly a large majority of 1948 Palestinians, are not actually called up. But on top of that, there's also a large movement of undeclared refusal, and this movement significantly tips the scales. The fact is that a majority of Israeli citizens have not served in the military, and a pretty large majority had not completed their mandatory term of service, not to mention reserves. One last point, and I'm going to be very brief, by the way. I'm almost ending. One last point. Now, I'm a pacifist. And like any pacifist in recent generations, sorry, I haven't slept enough tonight, I'd always faced the tough question of how to respond to the sort of situation we faced in World War II. And yes, the fascists and Nazis were defeated on the battlefield. But unfortunately, their legacy is alive and well. Seeing a genocide unfold in plain sight, while getting full backing in the corridors of power in the capitals of Europe and North America, had shown me that the military defeat of 8 years ago helped the symptoms without addressing the underlying cause of the disease, which has meanwhile metastasized even further. To cure the disease itself, other forms of resistance are necessary. Encouraging the refusal to fight is among the most important of them. Indeed, human conscience is a particularly powerful tool of resistance. No less powerful than economic sanctions, trade embargoes, or for that matter, ballistic missiles. And it is much more corrosive than any of these other things to the very foundations of the edifice of evil. And that's it from me.
Muchas gracias, Sergeiy. Listo. Continuamos entonces continuamos y finalizamos las presentaciones con Julián. Julián Ovalle, es un antimilitarista, objetor de conciencia, hombre que desconfía de la unanimidad, gusta de la divergencia y disiente de toda autoridad sin legitimidad. Nacido en Colombia, es decir, en la guerra. Determinado a no parar de hacer lo necesario para sacar de lo oculto el militarismo que se mimetiza en la cultura. Psicólogo y maestro en comunicación y política, estudiante y defensor de la universidad pública. Vas, Juli.
Bueno, gracias. Buenas noches. Pues, amigas, gracias por estar acá. Vamos a ver, yo traigo aquí una lectura que hicimos, que representa una reflexión colectiva con los compañeros, las compañeras del Observatorio de Militarismo, y vamos a ver qué tanto conversa con esta invitación a cocinar esperanza. Bueno, lo voy a leer. El mundo está en guerra. Lo ha estado desde que fue organizado de manera imperial. Vemos un aterrador entramado de acuerdos y actividad comercial para la guerra. La guerra misma es una economía de sustento de muchas personas y naciones. Las consecuencias de esta economía las observamos en el genocidio del pueblo palestino, en el recubrimiento de vigilancia, acero y fuego de los miedos de lo que los medios de comunicación llaman el mundo libre, sea eso lo que sea. Por años experimentamos la guerra colombiana como una expresión local y crónica de una guerra promovida por un aparato megaproductivo, inmenso y global. Sin embargo, ya no es posible ver tantos conflictos bélicos como guerras localizadas. El genocidio en Palestina, el conflicto del desplazamiento humano masivo en Sudán, Rusia, Ucrania, el azote contra el pueblo kurdo, Colombia, Haití y demás conflictos armados que no son nombrados por los grandes medios de comunicación. Todos son la expresión de una misma guerra de la cual su unidad parece ininteligible todavía. La guerra económica y la disputa por las hegemonías hacen que las guerras sean dinámicas y negocios en una misma matriz voraz que envuelve todo el planeta. Asistimos no a una guerra mundial como la conocimos en el siglo XX, sino a una mundialización de la economía para la guerra. La militarización de los presupuestos para la financiación de la OTAN implicará cambios sustanciales en los gastos sociales en los países que la conforman, gracias a Estados Unidos. En Colombia, la guerra recrudece a pesar de los numerosos y diversos esfuerzos en torno a las negociaciones con actores armados para la construcción de una paz estable y duradera. Para 2016 en Colombia se firmó un acuerdo de paz que ha sido implementado en una mínima proporción. En cambio, por esos mismos años de esta firma, Colombia se hizo socio global de la OTAN y desde entonces ha logrado desarrollos notables en tecnología para la guerra. El incremento sensible en la producción de municiones para la exportación, la fabricación y adaptaciones de fusiles de tecnología israelí, el desarrollo de drones para la vigilancia, la construcción de pequeños y medianos buques patrulleros especializados. Hemos visto, sin sorpresa, que mercenarios colombianos han ido a Ucrania como orgullosos mercenarios, expertos pero engañados bajo promesas no cumplidas. Al mismo tiempo, de la búsqueda de la paz en Colombia se ha invertido muchísimo dinero en el fortalecimiento de capacidades de ciberdefensa y guerra electrónica. Todos estos desarrollos tecnológicos no han implicado un logro en la promesa de seguridad y en la detención del derramamiento de sangre en las zonas de disputa de actores armados para el control del narcotráfico. La guerra en Colombia es un escenario de desastre generalizado. En este punto son más de 7 décadas de guerra que hacen que todas las generaciones vivas en Colombia hayan crecido en medio de masacres, desplazamientos humanos, desapariciones forzadas, ejecuciones extrajudiciales, falsos positivos. Es una historia desgarradora. La colombiana es una guerra, La colombiana es una guerra que siempre se ha transformado en función del mercado y también de la política. Y a pesar de lo cruenta que ha sido, actualmente parece haber sido normalizada. La de Colombia es una guerra que ha implicado la devastación de los territorios, de los cuerpos que en ella se sacrifican, de la vida humana y de la no humana. Gracias. Gracias. La solución de la guerra se ha instalado como herramienta de disputa política electoral y ahora los sectores reaccionarios militaristas promueven la guerra como camino para la paz. En Colombia, la guerra ha hecho frágiles los vínculos sociales que nos permiten vivir juntas y tal vez este sea el peor problema de todas. El retorno del incremento de la inversión militar de los países ya muy armados, los acuerdos de eso que se llama Silicon Valley con el ahora Ministerio de Guerra de Estados Unidos, la reactivación de la obligatoriedad de los servicios militares en Europa, especialmente en los países que comparten frontera con Rusia, las adaptaciones de cuerpos policiales y militares para el control de las migraciones en Europa y en Centroamérica, las acciones y provocaciones de corte imperialista en Estados Unidos en Sudamérica, el fortalecimiento de los gobiernos conservadores de corte fascista en América, Europa y en todos los lugares del mundo. Y lo que más preocupa, los incumplimientos de los acuerdos para detener el colapso medioambiental del planeta, entre otras muchas situaciones, son la expresión de la mundialización de la economía para la guerra. Vivir cerca de la guerra en Colombia hace que la actual mundialización de esta se sienta cada vez más devastadora. El Observatorio de Militarismo es un equipo de trabajo de profesionales en psicología y resultó curioso que hiciéramos conciencia de ello luego de ya de muchos años de activismo, cuando nos fuimos encontrando que nos sentimos realmente mal, nos sentimos una mierda con tanto que vivimos. Apareció así enfrente de nosotras, como colectivo, el reto de cuidarnos entre nosotros en la vida cotidiana, de acercarnos al militarismo pensando en los efectos de la guerra como con un consciente cuidado de no psicologizarla, ni sus efectos. Nos encontramos con el reto de seguir explorando la acción antimilitarista desde el lugar del reconocimiento de cicatrices de cuerpos abocados a seguir viviendo alegres, teniendo la fuerza colectiva para cuidarse entre sí y por esa vía desactivar la guerra en los escenarios cotidianos locales y globales. Y porque la guerra no solo se siente devastadora, sino que siempre es devastadora, resulta necesario a nivel vital resistirla, detenerla, en las formas que aparecen en nuestros cuerpos, en las pantallas de nuestros dispositivos digitales, en nuestros vecindarios, en las opciones democráticas por las que optamos. Nos encontramos con el reto de aprender a cuidarnos, con el reto de no desistir a la alegría que reta el malestar de las injusticias y la guerra. Es hora de ponerle la cara al malestar y a la rabia y movilizar la fuerza colectiva. La resistencia desde el cuidado reclama que ablandemos nuestros corazones. La acción antimilitarista no puede endurecer el corazón, porque lo que es rígido es susceptible de quebrarse. Como colectivo, nos interesamos cada vez más por aprender a hacer real el cuidado mutuo y nos interesamos por la salud mental. Sus afectaciones en medio de otro recrudecimiento más de la guerra que toma formas y dimensiones insospechadas. Particularmente nosotras como antimilitaristas ratificamos nuestra apuesta por la objeción de conciencia y es desde ahí donde queremos accionar cada vez más desde la psicología, desde la preservación de la vida y bueno, en Colombia seguir con el trabajo por la abolición del servicio militar que sigue siendo obligatorio. Esto como un propósito estratégico para desmilitarizar las vidas. Resistimos desde la objeción de conciencia. Tanto en Colombia como en Estados Unidos se ha documentado la participación del personal en salud mental en el desarrollo de tecnologías de tortura psicológica destinadas a la anulación subjetiva de opositores políticos y enemigos del Estado. Esto mediante métodos coercitivos y prácticas de sometimiento individual y colectivo. En este escenario, la objeción científica en el marco de la salud mental se erige como un acto de resistencia ético y político frente a la cooptación de la psicología por estructuras de poder militarizadas. Como Observatorio de Militarismo, hemos escrito un libro que propone la idea de la psicología antimilitarista, con el fin de problematizar los vínculos entre esta disciplina y la militarización. Como psicólogas antimilitaristas y objetoras de conciencia, insistimos en despojarnos de la institucionalización de la violencia propia de la psicología oficial y militarista, ya que la praxis política y profesional en ocasiones se ve limitada por la domesticación y la obediencia de un contrato laboral o cargo profesional. La propuesta es detener la complicidad directa o indirecta con los aparatos del Estado y sus medios de opresión. Uf, me falta mucho más tiempo que 5 minutos, Nata. Ok. Ok, pues vamos. Creemos que no es suficiente con prohibir la participación de psicólogas en actos de violación de los derechos humanos, sino que esto debe estar acompañado por acciones políticas e institucionales que den cuenta de la garantía de los derechos humanos y la dignidad de los pueblos. En el contexto colombiano, contamos con un marco jurídico que reconoce el derecho a la objeción de conciencia para profesionales del talento humano en salud mental. Este marco jurídico permite negarse a participar en prácticas que se consideren contrarias a su ética profesional o convicción. Aunque esta ley no menciona explícitamente la objeción de conciencia, sí ratifica el derecho a negarse. Consideramos que esta representa un precedente relevante frente a posibles acciones ante la histórica complicidad de esta disciplina psicológica con la guerra, tanto en Colombia como en otros países. Al mismo tiempo que damos inicio a este nuevo camino del cuidado mutuo, la promoción de la objeción de conciencia en el ámbito científico y desde la intención consciente del trabajo en torno a la salud mental, seguimos haciendo resistencia al servicio militar, porque como dije, sigue siendo obligatorio. Bueno, desde hace 2 años, cuando nos encontramos en Londres como Internacional de Resistentes a la Guerra, se viene implementando una política de desmonte gradual del servicio militar, y esto pues en concordancia con una comisión de la verdad que tuvo lugar a partir de los acuerdos que se firmaron de paz que se firmaron en el año 2016. Las medidas adoptadas para el desmonte gradual son ambiguas y contradictorias. Se han introducido por decreto, sin discusión parlamentaria, sin escuchar la voz del movimiento antimilitarista que quiso poner en juego las experiencias de otros países con respecto a estos servicios sociales o alternativos. Se ha establecido en todo caso un servicio que ha sido llamado el Servicio Social para la Paz, como principal medida para este desmonte gradual. Y es contradictorio porque al mismo tiempo que se dice que se quiere desmontar el servicio militar, se está incrementando el pago en dinero a los jóvenes que están prestando el servicio militar, y al mismo tiempo se está promoviendo el hecho de que las mujeres presten este servicio de forma voluntaria. Y digamos que es problemático porque ahora las mujeres que hagan el servicio social para la paz van a quedar siendo reservistas del ejército, siendo que antes de esta invención del servicio social, ellas nunca hubieran tenido que haber prestado el servicio militar. Y bueno, esto en un contexto en que el gobierno actual dice que es una forma de dignificar las tropas. Bueno. El servicio social para la paz tiene muchísimo menos presupuesto que el servicio militar obligatorio. Los beneficios que tienen los jóvenes que prestan el servicio militar luego de hacerlo son mucho menores que los que prestan el servicio social alternativo. Presenta serios desafíos para la construcción de la paz porque pone en riesgo a estos jóvenes, hombres y mujeres, en tanto este servicio va a ser prestado en lugares donde la guerra recrudece y no hay garantías para la protección de sus vidas. También es problemático el hecho de que la falta de financiación que tiene el servicio social para la paz, en contraste con el servicio militar, haga que desde el decreto que se ha planteado sea posible la intervención de capital de corporaciones y capital privado, y esto hace que el carácter social y público del bien público pues quede en tela de juicio. Vemos que tiene una grave afectación con respecto al derecho a la paz, a la objeción de conciencia y a la libertad de conciencia, y al derecho al trabajo, porque se verá precarizadas las condiciones de este. Entonces, ante la invitación de abordar la pregunta de a qué le resistimos como antimilitaristas, como colectivo afirmamos que resistimos a la guerra, a la obligación de participar en ella y a sus cuestionables alternativas. Resistimos a la militarización de la vida cotidiana y de los cuerpos. Resistimos a la militarización de la disciplina de la psicología y resistimos a desfallecer.
Translation stopped. I think you're speaking too fast.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna talk. Okay. Resistimos a la militarización de la vida cotidiana y de los cuerpos. Resistimos a la militarización de la disciplina de la psicología y resistimos a desfallecer ante la impotencia y el dolor que sentimos y resistimos al recrudecimiento, al endurecimiento de los corazones y la pérdida de la alegría. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Julián, por tu presentación. Y en este momento entonces abrimos el espacio para las personas que están aquí a hacer preguntas. ¿Sí? ¿Todo bien? Ok, gracias. ¿Quién quisiera hacer alguna pregunta? Por favor, concreta. ¿A quién va dirigida? Y ya, tenemos unos 15 minutos también para hacer eso. Gracias.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Ismail Ali. I'm from Sudan, living in Germany, working with Spano. I have actually a question to 4 countries. One of them is Colombia, Israel, and Russia. South Korea is out. Spain and Italy is still in the hold. And my question to 3 of you, I'm not directly to ask you as responsible people, but for your work, because Colombian, they was fighting now in Sudan with RSF. They coming from far away, killing our people, soldier from Colombia, and it's also a shame that European also to interfere in conflict in Africa, adding more bloody. And from your work, what do you can say or you can do? Because that is also one of the solidarity thing, we have to raise it up and talk about it. Russian, also the same thing. Russian, they were being harassing us for many years, and now they're supporting the 2 alliances in the same time because of the gold of Sudan and the resources. The same thing, Israeli everywhere being attacking Sudan for many years and then continue the genocide in Gaza and then moving is not enough for them. They moved now to Sudan also and sending Israeli military to our harbor, like the Mediterranean Sea. And they try to also maintain like or putting like military service there. And the same thing, Italian was being like for decades supporting the RSF for trainings. Cybersecurity training has been held in Milano. You know, this is why I'm seeing that this war will not stop if we don't stand for solidarity together, and highlighted it in your presentation because I was waiting from Colombia. They say, okay, we're against this also, not against, yes, our system is beyond the Colombian people, but also went beyond to Africa. The same for Israel and other countries. Thank you so much.
¿Alguien más?
Sí, hoy toca hablar en castellano, ¿no? En español. Bien, simplemente, ya que está aquí, acogemos al Internacional de Resistents a la Guerra, yo quiero avisar de que la próxima guerra mundial está a las puertas. Está a las puertas porque los dirigentes europeos acaban de decidir que nos hemos de rearmar porque Rusia invadirá, atacará otro país europeo, lo cual representará inevitablemente una guerra europea y por lo tanto también mundial. Y nos hemos de movilizar. Ese rearme brutal al cual se han lanzado nuestros dirigentes políticos en toda Europa, de llegar al 5% en gasto militar, solo para rearmarse, para hacer una guerra frente a Rusia, nos tiene que movilizar. Hemos de dar un paso adelante, y la Internacional de Resistentes a la Guerra es una internacional, por lo tanto tiene que movilizar en todos los países del mundo un gran movimiento social político para evitar esa guerra. Y además porque en caso de no producirse, ojalá, va a deteriorar el gasto social en todos los países, el bienestar social de todas las poblaciones, porque dedicar el 5% de gasto militar de cada uno de los países de Europa y quizás por, digamos, contaminación de otros muchos países del mundo, va a ir en contra de la sanidad, de la educación, de las prestaciones sociales, de las jubilaciones y por lo tanto del gasto social. Y es importantísimo que nos movilicemos y que movilicemos al resto de la sociedad para decir el no a la guerra y por lo tanto para presionar a nuestros gobiernos para evitar esta catástrofe que nos viene encima. Y simplemente es un lanzamiento de aviso para que la internacional tome este mensaje, porque el militarismo está en la base del sistema político en que nos están gobernando. Y ese militarismo nos lleva a una próxima guerra, que no solamente será mundial, sino que será nuclear, porque vamos a enfrentar a 3 países europeos nucleares frente a una Rusia también nuclear. Y por lo tanto, vamos al camino del exterminio de la humanidad si se produce.
Bueno, gracias. Sí. Thank you for everything you said on the panel. It's been really interesting. I just have a quick question, couple questions for Sergeiy. You mentioned...
Can you speak up? It's a bit low, so we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah?
better.
Okay. You mentioned that the majority of Israeli society hasn't served in the army. I was wondering if you could expand on that, if I heard that correctly. And also, are you seeing an increase in people refusing to join the military in the last 2 years with the genocide? Yeah.
Wait, Sergeiy, wait. Yeah, so we will answer the first question made by Mai, and okay. Dale. Tú, sí.
Hola, es que tiene mucha relación. ¿Se escucha? ¿Sí? También quería saber qué riesgos enfrentan actualmente las personas que se niegan a hacer el servicio militar en Israel. ¿Cómo abordan desde el movimiento la dimensión racial, colonial y etnonacionalista del militarismo en Israel? ¿Qué vínculos o espacios de colaboración sostienen con movimientos palestinos, antimilitaristas o no violentos? Y también esto así como quizás más una pregunta más como curiosa, pero quería saber por qué tantos jóvenes que terminan de hacer el servicio militar en Israel se van a la Patagonia y también a Guatemala. Hay muchísimos, terminan el servicio militar y se llena de israelitas jóvenes que han terminado el servicio en la Patagonia y también en el lago Atitlán en Guatemala. Es impresionante.
Vale, entonces vamos a responder la primera pregunta que se hizo y que se dirigió a todo el panel. Empezamos por Colombia. Si sabes algo o puedes responder.
Pues realmente el hecho de que hayan soldados o mercenarios en Sudán de parte de Colombia, me estoy enterando en este auditorio el día de hoy. Creo que esto ha sido el hecho de que hayan soldados en Ucrania y ahora que sé que en Sudán ha sido un punto de quiebre de legitimidad de los soldados y de las Fuerzas Armadas en Colombia, un poco. Y creo que es una oportunidad visibilizar esta importación de tecnología humana para seguir deslegitimando la guerra en Colombia. Y quiero agradecerte por esta información y voy a buscar un poco más al respecto porque no lo sabía. No tengo realmente muchas más respuestas para la pregunta.
Zaira or Artem?
Yes, it's very quick. I mean, I'm from Italy. I'm very sorry about that. But and actually, one thought that came into my mind as you asked that question is somehow we have speakers from different countries, but we cannot talk of country-based issue. I mean, it's global, because as you just said, we do have mercenaries from Russia in many countries in Africa. We do have responsibility from Italy, for example, because we are one of the three main countries sending weapons to Israel. So we are kind of also interconnected for the bad things. So this is why it's so important when we have this gathering and the men just talked about the international. What is this, international? It's because the answer needs to be global. I mean, it cannot be a local answer, or better, it's a global effort which does have an effect on the local on the local level. Because as you talk about Sudan, I mean, there are so many countries involved. So we do need to talk with these countries, with people from this country. What I can say, what comes into my mind as a concrete things, well, I talk from an international perspective of someone working with international advocacy. The first thing is we can speak up on this at the UN. We don't have time again to go into the details, but to deliver a statement in the plenary in front of all member states denouncing what's happening. It's not the solution, but it's part of the awareness, and it's part of the process to get to somewhere, okay? And there can be things like this, but as you said, it's also important to inform other partners locally, because they locally can do something. I talk as an Italian person, so in Italy we do a lot of things to stop sending weapons, for example, to Israel, or to involve our government in Sudan. There are people putting their bodies in front of the boats so that the armies are not loaded on the boats in Italy. This is just an example, but this means that your information or your alarm should be heard, and then we can locally do something concretely in relation to our own governments. So I take the responsibility for the Italian government, like to do something to affect that with also the other Italian people, I mean, many. But also we can do something at the international level. And we need not to say, oh, we cannot just talk, it's not enough. It is something, it is the starting, but then it needs to be followed up by action. But I think it's so important what you said, and it's so important that it's heard in this room, because there are people in this room that can do something. Together we can do something. And just to go to that question of the men, yes, I think that what Jungmin said, that it's a preparation work, like to be alert, you know, and not to be surprised of what's going on. And I think we are not waiting for the Third World War. It's already ongoing in a different way, but we are not waiting for something. There is already enough, I would say. And maybe it could be, of course, it can be worse, but I do think that we can do something. And the most important is that we can do is outside this room. We need to mobilize and to raise awareness with the people walking on the streets. I just close with this sentence. For example, in my city, every week we do a peace presence in the main street. So we stop the people going shopping, and we hand out flyers, and we tell them about conscientious objectors. We tell them about Sudan, about Myanmar. No one is talking anymore about Myanmar, but it's still ongoing, and about all other wars. I mean, we need to flag bells everywhere to raise awareness, because we need also the other people to be aware. And what happened in Korea, it's one example. There are many other, fortunately, that if people are aware they can do something. If they are not aware, and sometimes we trust that they will inform themselves, that they will look for information. Sometimes they cannot because they don't know where to look for, or sometimes people are just lazy. We can really be the one flagging these bells. Thank you.
Gracias. Sergeiy, hay varias preguntas que te hicieron a ti, pero tenemos el auditorio hasta las 1:40, o sea, 7:40, entonces, en la medida de lo posible, intenta responder de la mejor manera. Sí.
So first of all, like each of us was sort of enclosed in their local context, but I mean, the situation in Sudan is a nightmare on top of what's going on in Gaza and the rest of it. One genocide is not enough, apparently. Obviously, the Israeli contribution to any genocide around the world would be huge because war is a huge business nowadays. Which, like, we're trying to do, like, as an activist group, we're trying to do a little bit about it when we have a database of Israeli military experts and security experts, which could help activism around it. But yeah, and I'm personally feeling very overwhelmed by just the amount of interconnected horror this is going on right now. And I'd also say about Sudan, I think if the genocide in Gaza is notable by the fact that the whole world sees it and nobody in power does anything about it, the genocide in Sudan is notable by the fact that nobody wants to look. And it's maybe an important point to actually, like, raise awareness to it here, and let's look at it here, and let's talk about it here, and let's consider it. To the other question, first of all, to Marcela, I mean, yeah, there's this attitude in Israel, especially after people have been, like, you know, brainwashed enough before in military service and during the military service to view the world as their wastebasket. And you see that in Latin America, you see that in India, you see that everywhere. And, you know, you have this attitude of entitlement. I've been in the military, now I deserve to be served. But I'd also say that, yes, as a matter of fact, the majority of the population in Israel has not served in the military. Some of it is because of immigration, by the way. Because we have people who have arrived in Israel often on Zionist grounds, but nevertheless old enough to not have served in the military at all. So there's also a factor. But yeah, even every yearly cohort now, you'd have roughly 50 and a bit % of the population being enlisted in the first place. And then by the time you get to how many people finish the mandatory term of service, you'd be in the 40s, yeah, 40s of percentage of the cohort, right? And a lot of it, like any enlistment, like any conscription regime in general, but also, again, given the ethnic colonial nature of the Israeli society, you have a lot of minor divisions and major divisions. I mentioned Palestinian citizens of Israel, 1948 Palestinians, who are not being called up. Most of them. Some of them are. There are all those minor distinctions. You have religious groups. Most importantly, you have ultra-Orthodox Jews not joining. You have not only Orthodox, but ultra-Orthodox, but most just Orthodox Jewish women not joining. Druze religion students not joining. You have all those groups making up already some size of, like, sizable chunk of the population. Just the Palestinians are almost a quarter, right? I'm talking of Israeli citizens, not including the Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza, obviously, in this count. And on top of that, you have, like, I'd say about 10% of the population, one way or another, or even more, one way or another, initiating their exemption from military service, which is where we in New Profile come in mostly, helping those people out. So yeah, and that brings you to a majority of the population, as a matter of fact. But of course, the myth that everybody serves in the military is very useful for many people, right? Especially as an enlistment tool inside Israel, but also as a sort of like general propaganda outside. So the myth continues to exist, but the reality doesn't actually agree with the myth. And that's actually a major part of how the whole system works in Israel. This dissonance between perception and reality. So I think, yeah, that's enough for me.
Bueno, muchas gracias a todas por haber venido el día de hoy. A nuestras ponentes en este viaje que hicimos casi que por el mundo, desde Corea del Sur hasta Colombia. Un par de anuncios. Mañana tenemos nuevamente otro encuentro aquí. Tendremos otros panelistas diferentes, otros facilitadores, para compartir la experiencia desde Palestina y también desde Sudán. Y bueno, quienes están quedando en el hostal, un recordatorio de la hora en la que termina la cena. Les invitamos a que vayan directo al hostal para que no se la pierdan. Y nada, nos vemos mañana y muchas gracias a todos y a la intérprete por apoyarnos.